What's going on, y'all? RaJuR Real Deep Cool. I just got finished doing a review for Aqua de Palma's Colonia Intensa Leather. And let's keep it real. You know, I like to keep it real when I do my reviews, because I don't have any, I really never have any dogs in a fight with any fragrance. I purchased the leather after I tested it, but I ain't tested a lot. It was more of an impulse buy. When I went to Neiman's to buy it, I was talking to SAs, we talking about, I don't really hype, there, I know I got the lube, there's no problem. So let me go ahead on and grab that thing, but I still was like, well, let me wait, let me ride, let me wear it around. And I think I mentioned that in the first video. There was a second video, and then this is the third, and this is my conclusions. Well, that was the conclusion video that's uploaded now. So anyway, it was like, sometimes in a rush, I'm not really in a rush, because I wanted to have it, and check it out so I can talk about it. I went on ahead and I grabbed it. And I didn't allow myself to really get it as a sample, of course, and then walk around and let it dry down. Actually ended up drying down the Tuscan leather, so pretty much, if it was a little bit different, I mean, it wasn't like Tuscan leather. Tuscan has the raspberry. This dries down to a leather. I have Mona D'Orio Cure. If you have a lot of leathers, I don't believe in redundant purchases. Unfortunately, if this is your first purchase for Aqua de Palma leather, then buy it. I'll buy it. Because it's light, it's good for the summertime, it's not really heavy. Even though yesterday when I wore both Tuscan leather and Aqua de Palma's leather, it wasn't any problem. There was no cloying factor. There was none of that bull crap. It was still good to go. I'm just saying, that's what happened with it. Anyway, now we're back in the lab. We're going to talk about doing this new CD. And, I figure I might as well talk about that as well instead of always having this camera on talking about fragrances. Because, of course, there's more to me than just fragrances. There's more to me than just where I work at. There's more to me than just women. I do music, too. Alright? So, look here. The dealio is like this. I have a lot of tracks that never made it on CDs. And the tracks are nice. And what I did was, doing the last maybe 5-6 reviews, maybe even more than that, I was letting them play. And what had happened was I was getting a lot of yo man, what's up with that track? Can I get that track? Yo, where's that track on your CD? Is that track here? Is that track there? And these are just tracks that I did. Like I said, I was at a studio because I have no rules to when I'm doing music. It doesn't take me long to do a track, to have ideas, like I'm a mad scientist. And I don't need to I don't listen to a lot of music. I never have. Because I don't want to sound like anybody else. So I don't have to worry about influences okay, I need to sound like this because if I want to get airplay, I need to jump on this job to make sure I do something that they did, but then again twist it around, and instead of using this sound, I'm going to use this sound, and I'm just going to cop. I don't do that. I don't do, especially in the music that I do, which is music. There's no classification for my music. My music I put as alternative. But my music is not, there's no classification. Now people might say, well, this just sounds like Boney James or whatever. I don't know how. Because it just don't. My music doesn't sound, the structure of my music may sound like jazz music or this vanilla jazz, this pip pop jazz that they're playing now. You know what I mean? That is pretty much you know what, the music, I don't even care. I'm not worried about trying to win any allegiances. I have my own company. I do my own music. I play all my own instruments. I don't need to try to hold back from saying something I'm going to say, because that's what I do. I'm RaJuR Real Deep Cool. But that pip pop jazz stuff they play on the jazz networks, and people think they're listening to jazz. No, I'm listening to jazz. It's basically elevator music. Somebody, a jazz artist, took advantage and decided that let me pop on this because it's safe jazz. Now, the only thing that makes it jazz is sometimes doing that jazz is improvisation. Other than that, you can take a Casio keyboard, hit play, and somebody blow a horn on top of it. That does not make it jazz. That's what it is to me. You can take that music, just pop on a Casio. Somebody made a jazz track as a demo in a Casio or whatever, and just hit the button, and then somebody just play a sax over it, somebody play a flute, and people think they listen to jazz. You're not. You're not. You're just not. Real true jazz is improvisational all the way through. From the bass player being improvisational coming out the pocket, to the drummer coming out the pocket, to the guitar player, keyboard player, organ player, sax player, trumpet player, trombone player, whoever's in the set is coming out the pocket. And not just coming out the pocket for a solo, but coming out the pocket all over that. That's jazz. Jazz is improvisational, is a way to express yourself through music without rules. There's no rules in music. If you listen to hip-hop, you listen to R&B, it all sounds the same. But it's a formula. It's a hypnotic formula that what they did was, they was like, all right, cool. This year, and like the last 3 years really, it's the deep bass running along with the bass. So boom, 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 or whatever. That's what they doing now. Before that, it was the Timbaland, you know, doom, 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 you know, the Rodney Jerkins, all that. And before that, it was something else. But once it catch the niche and people know they're going to make some money off that and say, this is what I'm going to bounce off of, and now the next guy do it. Remember, we had Teddy Riley and the New Jack Swing. That was it. That was the New Jack Swing. There's always something. But when hip-hop came out, there was really no creativity except what they decided to do was use more synthesizers, more tricks within Fruity Loops, Pro Tools, whatever they use. And that's it. There's more effects. Everything is more effects. Of course, it's sampling, of course, all right? Whatever. You know what I mean? Chopping up samples. All that's cool. You do have to, like, know what you're doing when you do that. None of them cats playing real instruments. When they go do something live, it's got boring now. Nobody want to see friggin' turntable guys that spin a record, and the guy rap over top of it, and he got the cut turntable over here to change up the cuts. Nobody want to hear it no more. Now Jay-Z got a band. He got one of the baddest young drummers out right now. I remember when he was a little kid, like he was like 7 years old, getting taught by Dennis Chambers and Billy Cobham. Now Jay-Z's drummer he's grown up. He's all grown up now. He's probably about 21, 22, whatever. He's the man. You have bands playing now. Another example when it comes to hip-hop, and a lot of people may not know, is Show Me What You Got. Show Me What You Got was a mixture of my main man. I had to respect him because he really hit it, but he played instruments as well, which is Just Blaze. You know what I mean? He'll pick up a guitar and do something. You know, he probably pick up a bass and do something. But what he did was he mixed samples in. Dun, 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 boom, 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 boom. Show me what you got. And he did all that. But then when they went to play that live, as well as everybody who did open mic, everybody couldn't wait to do that song, especially the drummers, you know what I mean? Because a lot of drummer thing going on, you know what I mean? So basically he took hip-hop, and he's not the first one to do it, but he's the first one that made a freaking platinum hit out of Show Me What You Got. I think it was platinum. He fused live instrumentation with sampling, programming, MPC 2000 XL. I think he was using that. I know he was using a drum machine, you know, whether it was a 4000 or 2000. Then he had a live drummer come in, and you can see it. If you go to the website and check out how they did Show Me What You Got, that was a real drummer. You know what I mean? There's no way you can sample. There's samplers, and people know how to sample, but if you're not a drummer, there's no way you can piece together all them samples. Man, he pieced all them samples together, then he was like, yo, let me have a live drummer come in here, let me have a live bass player come in here, and he dropped that. When they do it live, they got live horns, live band. Okay? So it still goes back to the instrumentation when it comes to really performing this, because once again, nobody want to jump around LL Cool J and them back in the day and Run DMC with somebody just on the turntable spinning a record with a cut record. You know what I mean? People want to see a band now. And now it puts more people back into work. It puts musicians in work. Because musicians like, yo, all the money is in hip-hop and R&B right now, and since most of that is sample, we ain't getting no play. They just doing like, hey, spin the record in the back, TV track, leave the background in, take out the lead vocal, leaving the fills, bam, they just play the record. Like back in the day, Soul Train, you fake the funk. Ain't nobody really playing. There was only a few artists that played live on Soul Train, which is Luther Vandross and Patti LaBelle. Definitely got down live. There was a few other ones, but those are two that I remember. Always got down live when they went on Soul Train. You know what I'm saying? Now, back to me. That's what I'm about. I do no sampling. All my music, it comes from my brain. Y'all see me get back here and make a song, you know, just before I did a review. And that's what I do. Because it's easy for me to make music because I'm making music without rules. I don't have to worry about if I play this chord doesn't go with that chord, because I was told in music class you can't follow a G minor 7 with an A major 7, you know, and a diatonic with an E flat fifth sharp flat ninth. Stop it. My music is not about that. That's why there's no classification for my music, because I have no rules. Now, of course, my music's gonna be repetitive. It's not gonna change throughout the whole structure. Now, if I did my songs live, it's gonna change throughout the whole structure. But when I'm back here, of course it's gonna. That's the way music is set up. You have an intro most times. You have a verse. You have a pre-hook. You have a hook. You may have a post-hook, and then you back into the verse, and then you do another verse maybe. Then you do a bridge. Then you do a hook. Bridge, hook out, or hook, bridge, verse change, and then you hook out. It all depends on how you want to structure it. You know what I mean? But for us who've been programmed as those who are not into the music business, we're structured to listen to a music a certain way. We know there's going to be a verse, there's going to be the change, if you call it, and then you're back to a verse. And then you're going to have a bridge and you're going to be out. Your simple way of doing music. It's how I do my music most of the time. The difference between my music is I have no rules. Whatever chords I play, I don't know what I'm playing. I might pick up the guitar. Now I know what I'm playing on the guitar, and then I'll transpose it to the keyboards if I need something a little bit different and I can't find something on the keyboards that I'm vibing on. I start off with the drum machine and I do my thing. That's what I do, y'all. So that's how RaJuR the cool music is composed. There's no secret. I do what I do. I have so many songs. That's the whole thing about doing the CD, having so many songs, that before I really start thinking about getting into like selling my CDs and doing music and put myself out on the market, I would just come down to the studio, say hi to mom and pop, because my studio was in my mom and pop crib. And as I continued to build, I made a big, huge studio. You know, I redid the basement and everything. But, you know, I come down there, how you doing, mom? How you doing, dad? Blah, 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 bam, 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 down here. And I'm grinding. And they let me grind. God rest their soul, they let me grind. You know what I mean? Now, look, I got a job. I've been at my job for 26 years. So it ain't like, you know, I'm out in the street, I'm running around all day. I'm upstairs playing PlayStation. Now I want to come. I got a job, I work. I've been working since I was 16. So they ain't had no problem with me coming down. You know, as I kept it down, not too much noise, you know, and I do what I had to do. And then after that, you know, I started saying, well, man, I got some pretty decent music. Why don't I let some people come in here and start recording over top of my music? Then they started getting word, oh man, this guy got a studio in North Philly, let's check it out. And then I started doing clients. You know what I mean? And that's how Rock the House Studios came about. It used to be Michelet Sound Studios, and now it's Rock the House Studios and Entertainment. And that's how they came about. But you know, I said to say I'm a self-made man in Philly. I don't hobnob, you know, with the jet set. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we know Jill Scott came out of here. Jill Scott grew up the street from me on Lehigh Avenue, right off near 100th Street. You know what I mean? I'm on Allegheny Avenue, so I'm only 3 blocks up from where Jill used to play hopscotch, like she said in the song. Now, she lived right around the corner from my boy, Kev. So, no Jill. Nah, Jill got a deal. Know the whole thing, you know what I mean? And then you have Carvin, Ivan, the guys who helped Jill put an album together. Them guys was playing in church. Most of the guys that I know played with them in church, you know, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but, you know, Carvin and Ivan, you know about them guys. All right, Vidal, and then we had Dre, and then we have a young man who ended up being a minister now named Keith Peltzer. And, you know, I met all them guys as well. But, you know, I wasn't down there trying to jock like, oh, man, can I get in? Can I get in? Because real deal, seriously, Philly, yo, it don't go down like that, y'all. It don't go down like that. And I've said that many a time. And people are going to see this video, you be like, oh, there he go hating. I never hate because I got a job. Them cats don't have jobs. So it ain't like I'm bitter. I could never be bitter because I know I have a retirement coming. I know that I have medical benefits coming. I know I decided that instead of not working for the rest of my life and trying to do this music thing and trying to make money and struggling to, if I had a family, you know, trying to make sure they eat from me being in the studio trying to hustle songs. I ain't gonna live like that. I mean, a lot of musicians live like that. I don't. I took my ass to work. I got a job. You know what I mean? I had an offer to go play for Boys and Men when they first started hitting out of Philly. Yo, why don't you come and play guitar, Raj? I knew one of the brothers who played keyboards. In fact, I knew just about all the guys who played in Boys and Men. Grew up with them guys. Are you serious? I know they came out of Broadnecks. I know most of them guys who played on the stage with Boys and Men. I'm in Boys and Men book, Us to You. I'm there with Homie and them I grew up with. So, me being in the business, I never came to the point that I feel as though I want to beg. I had to get in. Oh, okay, yo, man, listen to my tracks. Never. I had Pink come down to my studio via my man Mari. Mari used to work with Pink. He was like, yo, man, I like your tracks, because we was working together anyway. He was like, yo, man, you know, you're a little bit seasoned. Why don't you let Pink come down here and grab some tracks before she hit over to Europe. Pink was down in my studio, no makeup, no nothing, hair wrapped around her head, down in my studio in North Philly one morning, 8 o'clock. And I ain't feel like getting up. I'm like, man, I had to drive all the way from my crib in the Northeast to come down so I can give her some tracks she can take back to Europe and see if she wanted to use them. You know what I mean? She kind of went to on another level after that. She went into the rock type thing. She decided to get out of R&B and stop doing the LaFace type thing. She wanted to do her own. She wanted to be creative on her own. And I appreciated that. You know what I mean? But I wasn't begging her. Please, 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 come, please. I got an offer from Steve McKeever from Hidden Beach at the time. Jill Scott was at Hidden Beach. So they was like, you know, she has a Long Walk song. We looking for a remix on Long Walk. Cool. The way it happened was my man who was doing promotion for Hidden Beach, him and his boy, used to come down my studio all the time. They would bring artists through. We'd cut some tracks for them. We'd do demos. We'd do ref tracks and whatever. So one day he was on the phone with Steve McKeever. And Steve McKeever from Hidden Beach was like, yo, what is that I hear in the background? And my man was like, that's my man music playing back there. He was like, who's your dude? And he said, it's my man Raj. He was like, put him on the phone. So I get on the phone with Steve McKeever. And Steve was like, yo, man, I really like what I hear in the background. I'm like, yeah, you know, I do a little something, something, something. You know what I mean? I'm really like, oh, snap, I'm talking to Steve McKeever from Hidden Beach. So it was like, all right, cool. Look here. I'm going to send you Jill's vocal track with just the vocals. I'm going to send you the instrumental track. He was like, and would you be interested in doing a Brenda Russell's track, which was Walking in New York? I'm like, man, send me everything you have. I do what I can. I said, I'm not really a remixer. That's not really what I do. You know, I'm more of a guy who composes tracks. But if you're going to give me the opportunity to really get down like that, then why not? I'll do it. Send me the tracks. About 2 weeks later, they come in FedEx. And bam, here I have Jill Scott's track, just the vocals. And I still have it. And I also have an instrumental track, just the music. So what I did was I chopped our music up. I put in my sample at the time, which was I think it was an S550 by Akai. I put that in there. I chopped it up and whatever. I did a thing. I speed up the tempo. You know, let's take a long walk. Let's take a long walk. Like I said, I never did that before in my life. That was not what I did, but I figured I'd take on the challenge. I'd check it out. So I submitted it back to Hidden Beach. And it was like, okay, it was nice, but not quite what we was looking for. But what they ended up doing was, the remix came out with, I think, Method Man and them from Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, how was I can't beat Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. I can't beat Wu-Tang Clan. So the whole deal with that was, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. McKeever. Stay in touch. You got my number. If you want me to do some other tracks for you whatsoever, you want me to submit some of my other stuff to you, bam, 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 which I did. I sent them a catalog of my stuff, bam, bam, bam. So I do. But once again, I'm not begging. Because I got a job. I got a 9 to 5. So I'm not worried about trying to scrounge and make money trying to get into this music business. You know what I mean? And my man, one of my dudes, even said that to me. I took him a couple of tracks down, let him hear him. A couple of them he liked, a couple of them he didn't. He was like, but let me tell you something now, man. I'm going to be real with you, cuz. And if he see this video, he'll know exactly what we was talking about. We was in the studio of the producers of Jill Scott. And I went down there. I came down with the tracks. I was like, check it out. My stuff is a little bit more jazz. He was like, look, this is what you should do, Raj. What you should do is do a little bit more sampling, man. Sample, get Logic. Why don't you sample those strings instead of playing them? You know, make it more what the kids are like in the day. Because, you know, they can't really feel strings, but if I can feel sample strings. And he was giving me advice and whatever. He was like, but on the real tip, bro, look, the real deal is, as much as these cats are doing what they're doing, and, you know, they working with Mary J. Blige, they working with Jamie Foxx, they doing stuff with everybody. In fact, I was in the studio when my man was mixing down Jamie Foxx joint. I forgot his name, but I came in the studio because I went to ask him a question about a controller for Pro Tools. And I was in there and, damn, what joint was he mixing down by Jamie Foxx. I forgot what it was, but I heard it before anybody heard it. I mean, before anybody in the public heard it, because he was in there mixing it down. I was like, Jamie Foxx joint? He was like, yeah. He's mixing it down, let me hear it. But what it came down to was, again, he was like, look, man, you have a job, bro. You're in a better position than most of these guys because, you know, once this runs out, they don't have any skill set to get jobs. You know what I mean? It's like you can't come from doing music and all of a sudden, okay, now I want to drive a SEPTA bus or I want to drive a SEPTA train, which is what I've been doing for years, like I said. So he was like, you know, you might find a little envy with that in the sense that, you know, you're in the music business and you got a job. Hence why I come to this particular point in my life that I decided I was going to put my own music out. Now, before I had that talk with that gentleman, I had already put 3 CDs out. I put out Mosaics in 1988, which had nice local critical acclaim. We had 3 newspapers right up on my CD. I would take down my poster now and everything that I had up from that. But I had 3 newspapers, 2 major newspapers, and 1 African-American newspaper, which really was called the Tribune, and she wrote up on it as well. And that was my first CD I did. I played all the instruments, of course. I had like electronic drums. I was playing drums on. I was split between drum machines. Using R8 Mark II at the time. And I was using Atari for my sequencer. And I was using some rolling drums, electronic drums. And I did the whole CD myself. Entirely, the whole CD myself. My second CD was Mosaics. And that was released in 2001. And I did that CD and I had help from some really decent musicians. I mean, like decent musicians. Better than decent, but you know, they don't like to be like exposed like that. So the one guy I really dig, DB, and from then on, after I put that CD out, he was on every one of my CDs. Every one of my CDs. In one way or the other, he contributed to one of my CDs. And he's one of the best flute players, keyboard players in Philly. And he worked with Jill Scott before she got her deal. I'm still kind of messed up about that he didn't get a chance to get brought in on that situation, but that's the way the music business is, you know what I mean? It's just like my man who did with Pink, you know, who introduced me to Pink. He was working with Pink and her group. She was with a group at the time. It was like 3 of them. And then when it came down to the deal they was doing with LA and facing them, you know, he got kind of blocked out. They gave him this bogus contract, like 500,000 pages that essentially said, you're not going to get anything. So really, just go ahead on and thank you for bringing it to me. And we're going to do what we got to do. We're going to make some money off Pink. And that's the way it went. And he ain't getting on anything. But Pink, being a loyal sister that she was, she continually, you know, still hook up with the brother. She ain't go bouncing off. And when she come back to Philly, she forget that homie here. You know, they always keep in contact. So that was cool. And, man, I could tell y'all 100 stories how I could have been in the music business on the real. But got a job. My job don't allow me to decide that I want to go on tour with this band. I want to play guitar for Boys and Men for 6 months on a tour. I don't have that option. My job don't allow me to do that. They don't want to hear that. They need the run filled. They need somebody on that bus, trolley, subway, yard. They need somebody there. Ain't no we gonna take a break off. I'm gonna hit the sick book. You go to the sick book, then you lying. You're gonna get benefits from SEPTA for being in the sick book and you out singing. Now I know somebody who got in trouble for doing that. Almost lost his job. You know what I mean? He left, said he was sick. He ended up doing some stuff. Not gonna mention no name, but if he sees this video, he'll know who he is. And SEPTA was about to fire him, but instead of firing him, what they did was say, you're gonna pay us back all them days that you took off sick and you on TV doing stuff and whatever, and you're gonna owe us that. And if you take one more extra day other than what you owe us, you're fired. So they let him keep his job, but yet again, he learned the lesson. You can't do that. You can't do that when you have an employer. Now, let's just say, for instance, I told him I'm going to shoot a video up there. You know, it didn't take me long to get like permission to shoot a video if I want to shoot a video. Just do this and do that, get insurance for the camera crew, blah, 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 blah. Let us know where you want to shoot on the property. Bam, it was cool, RaJuR, we cool with you. They didn't say RaJuR, but they knew that was my artist name. And that's what it was, so that's cool. But the reality of it is, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this. I started playing guitar at the age of 9. I got my first guitar, exposure to a guitar. Let me just say, at six years old, my mom got me to play an instrument called the recorder. in elementary school, and that's how I really started taking to music. She sung in the choir, so I was singing a little kids choir and whatsoever. That was my music. Then I started playing the recorder. Then after that, when I got 9, I think it was 9 or 10, my pop and my uncle and then we went to New York. God rest both their souls. We went to New York, and my uncle was like, "Let me take you over to a friend of mine's house. He's a guitar player." I'm like, "All right, cool, let's go, let's go." Went over there, and he pulled out his guitar, and I don't know anything about guitars. I know he was playing it. I was like, "Oh, that is cool, dog. That is cool. That's hot. What? That is decent." And you know, it was only how. Remember how Ray went over to the gentleman's house, and he was playing the piano, and the guy was telling him, "Bing, bing, 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 bing." The same thing happened to me. Same thing happened to me. Almost 45 years ago, they happened to me. You know what I mean? No, not quite. 43 years ago, they happened to me. So I was in New York, in Brooklyn. This guy played guitar. Came back, told my dad, "You don't need no guitar. You don't need," you know, he wasn't really, my dad really didn't encourage me to play music because he wanted me to be a football player or a doctor. That's what he wanted me to do. That's what, now I'm getting ready to tell you my whole life story now instead of telling you about this music. Even though I kind of told you about how my music goes, I'm going to tell you my story in music. And a little bit about my life as well. I had no problem telling this maybe to help somebody. Who knows? Kids need stuff. Kids need mentors. Kids need people to tell them something positive instead of rolling around with gold chains and whatever, you know, mimicking and playing games and belonging to, you know, clubs and cliques and all that stuff. They need the real. I'm old head. I'm going to give it to you real. Alright, so what had happened was my dad wanted me to play football. You know, I'm athletic as well. You know, I grew up as a well-rounded child. You know what I mean? I know guys don't even know how to play basketball. I've never picked up a basketball in their life. Can't play chess, can't play checkers. They have a life that's just a boring-ass life. I'm sorry. That's what it is. I'm not down on anybody, but I'm just saying I was brought up to be well-rounded. And my life continues to be that way right to this day. Because I want to get into everything. Before I leave here, I want to be involved in everything. Everything, yo. Everything. Come on, give it to me. So, we got back. He was like, "You don't need no guitar. You're a football player. You ain't playing football. You won't get out of this house because you're going to be a football player." I'm like, I'm not even into sports like that. But when we go outside, so I can throw a football, yo. I got the jumper, and I still got them skills. That's called an up fake. I still got them skills. I can shoot jumpers, play baseball, softball, skated, you name it. Because that's the kind of block we had. We had a block that everybody participated in football, basketball, everything. That's why I grew up at. Thank God I grew around people who wanted to play sports. You know what I mean? Then I learned how to play checkers. I learned how to play chess with my boy Bill. We used to play chess every day. Could never beat him. You know, fools made me and everything. But now, can't do that no more. You know what I mean? So I know how to play chess as well. Pool. I know how to play pool. Don't mess with me. That's my bridge. That's pro bridge right there. So I play pool. Ping pong. Play ping pong as well. Whatever. You know what I mean? That's the way I grew up. I was fortunate enough to grow up around people who want to do something, didn't sit on their ass, create excuses for themselves, and didn't want to do anything. You know what I mean? I was around people who were active, wanted to do stuff. We was always competitive, and that's where I am now. I'm sorry, y'all. That's where I am. I'm competitive. People think I'm an asshole, but it's just I'm competitive. Michael Jordan was competitive. Ain't nobody say about him. He's the biggest asshole out, Michael Jordan. And that's why he is settled. Not because he was an asshole, because he was not settled for less. And he knew he had to do what he had to do within the realm that he had to do it. Of course, he had to play within the game. He didn't own a basketball team. He didn't own the basketball team he was in, but he knew how to play rock. And now look at him. Point made. So what I'm saying is, you know, the thing about growing up and being well-rounded helps you out throughout your life. And that way you never settle to just be in one pocket. All right? So bam. No guitar, blah, blah, blah. And whatever, you know, I don't care about that. I'm not buying you a guitar. So then finally, we kept bugging. Finally, he bought me a tight scope guitar from 22nd. It was a pawn shop. They sold new stuff too, but it was a pawn shop on 22nd in between Cambria and Indiana. And he went and bought me a tight scope guitar, and he brought it back to me. Now, tight scope back in the day was pretty cool, but it really wasn't a shot. I didn't know anything about Fender Strats and whatever. In fact, if I had bought a Fender Stratocaster back then in 1968 and I still had it, it'll be better than Eric Clapton's. I probably get $50,000 for that thing right now. But he bought me a tight scope. That's cool. Thank you, Dad, for buying me the guitar. That year, everybody on the block decided that we played basketball and all that, but now everybody wants to be in a band. So everybody bought guitars. I mean, everybody bought an instrument. Everybody who hung out bought an instrument. Everybody was playing something on Judson Street in North Philly. It was Fox and Judson. So that's going to be history one day, because I'm going to talk about it after I get my Grammy. Everybody on that block was playing instruments. We used to play on the porch, and like we split up like gangs. We was like, yo, all right, so such and such had their band. Such and such had their band. We had like 4 bands on the block. And then it was the Gidding brothers, who lived on Clearfield Street further down on 24th and Clearfield, and they had their band. And then out of that band sprouted another band, my man Nate, who's still getting down today. He got his band called Seasons in the City. He was playing. I mean, we still, after 30 years, we still in the music, most of us. A lot of us have really dropped off. There's only a few guys who are still in the music. Me, John, Nate, and probably a couple other guys from when we were little kids still doing music now. But anyway, he finally got me the guitar, and I took to it. There wasn't no doubt about it. So then it happened. I was doing very well in school. I was always an A student. In fact, they wanted me to skip 8th grade and go right to Central High School, which is in Philly. That was the best school back in the day in 1974. If you got in Central, you was automatically going to college. You was going to be a doctor because you was going to go to LaSalle, Drexel, or Penn. There's no doubt about it if you went to Central. Pop was all happy and everything, yo. I'm skipping fast forward because, you know, I'm getting past all the stuff in between that. But basically what it was is you grow up playing in bands and you join another band, you join another band, you join another band, you join another band. All right, cool. So high school, I joined this, I go to Central. So my whole 8th grade, I was like, what no need for me doing 8th grade? Because everything I learned in 7th grade for the special class I was going through, I didn't have to really do 8th grade. So in 8th grade, I was like doing newscasts and stuff like that. I would come to school. It was like I was the athlete in the school without being an athlete. I would come to school, I'd be mentoring, I'd be tutoring those who was having problems and whatever. And then I would do the newscast for the morning and the newscast for the afternoon. You'll see myself on TV. And that's what I would do. And I would go to class as a mentor. So really, I didn't even have an 8th grade. So then it was time to go to Central in 9th grade. The problem with Central for me was, of course, y'all know I like them ladies. Central didn't have women in there. It was like Central had all boys, girls. High up the street had all girls. So I was like, man, you know, I was used to the girls I grew up with. You know, I ain't had no problem with them. You know, I was like, yo, but I was still a little shy to be off into this whole new realm of band. While my other boys went to Dobbins and Gratz. You know what I mean? They went to other schools in the area. You know, and I wasn't really trying to feel that. My papa went, you ain't going to no freaking Gratz. You know what I mean? I had to skip 9th grade too. I mean, essentially. So pretty much, you know, it was one of them things. I just wanted to do music. So when I got to Central, my papa was pissed because they kicked me out that joint. They was like, yo, I was hooking like a mug, man. I was hooking with my boys because, you know, they was in high school the first year. Nobody wanted to really do no school. And a couple just wanted to play music all the time. And, man, I was hooking like a mug, man, in Central. I wouldn't even go, man. I was like, my report card was so bad it was called FEEF. It was F-E-E-E-F on my report card because I never showed up. And I tried to change it so my pop wouldn't know. So I tried to change the E's, the B's. I tried to change all of the B's, right? My pop looked at the report card. He said, what do you think? I'm a stupid ass? I know these ain't freaking B's. Yo. Eventually, I ended up getting kicked out of Central because I wanted to play music just that bad. Pop didn't talk to me for a good 2 years. I ain't gonna lie. Man, we lost our relationship bad with that. And I can really understand looking at it on hindsight now, you know, because I was younger than him now than when I did that. You know what I mean? He was probably almost going on 50 or whatever. Probably looked past it. He really pissed off because he had been bragging to his co-workers that his son was going to Central and all that stuff. So it was like, you know, he was really like, yo, man, yo. But my pop was a tailor and he was a cleaner. So the one thing that never happened with me, regardless, he made sure my pants had creases in it. I was never dirty. I went to school the cleanest dude every day when I went to school. And I was always dressed because that's the way he wanted me to be, dressed. I ain't wear no jeans. I always wore dress pants when I went to school. So with that being said, I get kicked out of Central and they sent me to the school called Gillespie for 9th grade. Well, again, once again, y'all, not trying to claim Mr. Smart behind, but I ain't had to do 9th grade because I did 9th grade and 7th grade. There was no need for me to even go to the school called Gillespie because it was just a waste of time. It was just a transition for me to go to this other school called Gratz that finished up on 9th grade. Seriously. I didn't think I went to class half the time. In 9th grade. I didn't. So what I did was, towards the end of that, I met these brothers, Lonnie, Jerry, Ron, and Kenny. And these guys was like into music. I mean, they was into different music. They wasn't into like R&B and stuff. They was into like Mahavishnu Orchestra, Billy Cobham, Narada Walden, man, Brand X, Stanley Clark, of course. I mean, we was into Dixie Dregs. Man, we was into that, man. We was into that. That's what we was into. I'm like, that's what I'm getting into right there. I ain't listened to R&B for like 3 years, honest to goodness. Except for when I got to this other high school towards the end of the year. It was called Franklin Learning Center. And I finished out the year there. My pop was not happy about me going to school that's dealing with music. Because all he saw was his son supposed to be going to college, being a doctor and whatever. He was really, truly pissed. And that's how I got into music. And so with this band that was called the Ozone Band in Franklin Learning Center, and we used to play around the schools. We had a drama troupe, and we had the musicians. And what we would do is we would be down in the pit. You know how you go to a play? We'd be down in the pit, and we'd be playing while the play is going on. You know, we was pit musicians. It was cool. But before we played, before they did the play, we would jam. They let us jam. And the favorite song was Boogie Nights. Ain't no doubt we are here to party, Boogie Nights. And we used to jam. We used to get it in. We played Boogie Nights. My favorite song was, which is kind of grown for the kids, but it was hot back then, which is We Both Deserve Each Other's Love, LTD. You know, I'm talking to my old head right now. You know, so that's what we did. So we was like the jocks. We was like the jocks in high school. Seriously. We ain't had to do nothing. We got our tests done for us. We ain't had to show up, yo. Seriously. I can say that now because you can't take away my diploma now from high school. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, straight up, we ain't do nothing, man. So, you know, for 3 years, man, just lived the life of just luxury of just playing music, and we were still playing our own music. Then we met this guy that had a studio, and we really started playing music, and that's when I myself came into my own, because we was playing his originals. We was making up songs, playing this guy's originals, and he was like into something totally different. We was playing stuff like dropping bombs on everyone, like a, you know, like reggae type thing. You know, we was in that reggae type thing for him. But then when everybody would leave, just like when I was growing up and I learned how to play all the instruments, when everybody left, I jumped on the mixer, I jumped on the drums, I jumped on the guitar, I jumped on the bass, and when I learned how to work a mix and all that stuff, I would just cut all my own tracks, right? And that's how I did it. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. Give me 1 minute. Not even that long, hold on. I would be playing music now while I'm talking, but nah, I don't want to do that because I want y'all to hear what I'm saying. So you'll be hearing enough music once these 2 CDs come out. So you don't need really playing the music. Then I'll be letting y'all hear my stuff before it's out. Even though really you already have, for the most part, because I'll play most of those songs in my review anyway, so you really have heard them. But anyway, getting back to Franklin Learning Center and us doing that, then towards the last year, and we were still working with this guy, I did this song called Hand Talk. And there wasn't nobody in the studio, it was just me. And I go back there and I did the drums first. Right? So I did the music. And I did all that, right? So when we got back together for rehearsal like 2 days later, I put the track on. And they was like, yo, who that? I'm like, I did that track, man, while y'all was lunching. I was up here doing the track. And they gave me the key to the lab. And I cut the track. And then my man heard it. He's like, oh, can I get that track? You know what I mean? Nah, man, that's my track. I want it for me. But it was called Hand Talk. And that's how I started making music for myself. And I think that was at the age, that was before I went into the Navy. That was before I went to the Navy and did my military duty, you know what I mean, since it's Memorial Day. I did my military duty VA 146 Blue Diamonds in Lemoore, California, Naval Air Station. Did 3 tours on the Westpac, on the aircraft carrier, USS Constellation. Went all the way around that part of the world, the Indian Ocean part of the world. Was involved in the Ayatollah kidnapping of the hostage crisis and all that stuff. Cool, all right, cool. So anyway, once I left out of that situation with them, you know, I left on the track. I said, y'all can play the track, man, I'm out. So when I got in the Navy, you know, once I got done boot camp, I couldn't do nothing in boot camp. Once I got to Lemoore, California, I bought me a cassette deck, a dual cassette deck. No, I bought 2 cassette decks. I had my guitar. I bought my man Ron's bass. And I bought this little drum machine called the DR550 that Roland made. Real small thing. And some of you guys, if y'all looked at my page, you saw my CD. It's called Secret Thoughts. And I did my first cassette. It wasn't a CD. I did my first album called Secret Thoughts. It was like a mini EP. It was only like 4 songs on there. And I sold that while I was in the Navy. And that was it. It was called Secret Thoughts by Willie DX. My man gave me that name. He was like, man, you should have changed your name to Willie DX. I'm like, all right. But I put Willie Holloman on my CD cover. But actually, I was Willie DX. It was called me Willie DX for a while because I played guitar and bass. So once I did that, you know, I did that, bam, got out the Navy. When I got out the Navy, I came back. I'm like, I got to get a job. Reagan had messed around and fired all like you know, that's why they went on strike and they messed around. All the air traffic controllers, you know, got fired and everything because they wouldn't come to work. So they kind of shut down everything for me going to the airport to get an aircraft job. So, you know, I was just driving my bike back and forth as a parking attendant downtown, down at Vine and 15th and Vine. It was a parking lot for Heinemann Hospital. So I went down there and I would ride my bike every day. I didn't have a car. And I had just met a longtime friend of mine. She used to play trombone back in the band. And my man that hooked me back up with her, she wanted to see me. Ended up marrying her, actually. And I used to ride my bike back and forth. All right, so cool. So then I was like, man, you can't drop out of music. You got to still do it. So then I started taking my money and taking care of the crib and still buying little pieces of equipment, And then I bought enough equipment that I met these brothers named, I knew my man Stan. And I forgot the other brother name. He was real cool. He had some equipment too. And we decided to merge and we came up with our own company. And I forgot the name of that company. And we had a production company. And we had an opportunity to work with some people too. Before the New Jack Swing got kind of hot. You know, they were looking at us to do some stuff like that. But nothing really came through. And so that was my first wife. You know, we was cool. Did I say first wife? That was my wife. I don't want to tell you too much about business. And that's how that happened. So I built a studio from there. And then I changed the studio another name because then I went into a whole nother situation. And I had a stepdaughter named Michelet. So I changed it from Michelet. Damn, it was called Bright Eyes. It was called Bright Eyes Productions. Because I used to wear these real thick glasses. And it made my eyes real big like Red Fox in Harlem Nights. That's how I made my eyes look, yo. Until I started wearing contacts. Anyway, and these are in prescription. This is how I like to wear glasses. So I wear them when I want to look intelligent. So anyway, you know, that was it. I changed the name of the studio to Michelet Sound Studio. Moved everything down to my mom's crib and my pop crib. And that's I've been coming up ever since. So that's about it for that. Then, you know, like I said, I put out the CDs. 1988, like I said, was Mosaics. 2001 was All in the Mind. 2000, I was putting out one every 4 years. 2005 was Official. 2009 CD was The Obvious. And now my latest CD, which I put out in 12. Was it 12 or 13? 13, last year. Last year. I put out my CD called Real Deep Cool, which I submitted to the Grammys for hopefully a Grammy nomination bid. Unfortunately, I didn't make it, but a lot of people in the Grammy Association got to listen to my music. It was giving me compliments, and it kind of like, yo, it kind of inspired me to continue to do this. So I decided that to put this CD together, and this is where we are now. And to take all of those songs that never made it on any CD, and kind of put these songs together on one CD. And they're not going to be in... I'm just going to mix them. Whatever I got is what I have. If I like them, they have errors in them, I'm still going to put them up. Because what you guys have to remember is what I told you earlier in the game. I have a job for 26 years. I have no desire to be rich. I have no desire to hit a lottery. I don't play lotteries. I don't need to hit a lottery. I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm comfortable with what I have. I'm fortunate to have what I have. I'm thankful that I have what I have. I'm merciful to know that if I didn't have what I have because of mercy, then there was something totally different. I could be doing something totally different. You know what I mean? A whole nother path in my life, but I'm not. So, you know, I'm very humble to who I need to be humble to. I'm very thankful for the people I need to be thankful to. And I'm also thankful for a lot of things as well. So that's where we come to this CD, and I'm going to put these songs on. Like I said, no particular arrangement. I'm just going to put them on however they come out computer. And the ones that I like most, actually I'm going to put all of them in Pro Tools. I'm using Pro Tools. And I'm digitally putting them in Pro Tools. I'm using my Yamaha interface, analog to digital, A to D. You know what I mean? Nothing like putting stuff in digital. I really don't like going analog for the most part. So I'm trying to go in digital so I can keep the integrity of the music itself. I don't want to really add any analog stream on it yet. I can do that later on by patching it to my analog gear. But anyway, and then aside from that CD, I'm going to do the Select Collection, which is a combination of all 5 CDs. I'm going to put those on a CD, and I may do, now I'm not sure, but I may do 2 or 3 tracks in addition to the songs that I select from all 5 CDs. And that's it. And that song is going to be called RaJuR the Select Collection. So we have RaJuR the Select Collection. We have RaJuR the Backlash, tracks from the Library of Flow, which is my laptop. That's the Library of Flow. Had to think of something. And that's what I'm doing. So I hope y'all like it. I gave y'all my history of what I do in music. And like I said, once again, I'm a humble guy. I just want to work. I just want to do what I'm supposed to do while I'm here. And if I can help people by doing what I do, that's fine. Of course, you know I'm into fragrances. And again, I'm not a favorite guy in fragrances. I'm a polarizing person. But Michael Jordan was polarizing, okay? Most of your great leaders were polarizing. Muhammad Ali, polarizing. Malcolm X, polarizing. You know, let me come off the African American tip, and we can go Einstein, polarizing. They thought he was freaking bugging. You know what I mean? So look here, I don't mind being polarizing. I don't mind speaking my mind. I don't mind being a man's man. I don't mind being my own man. I'm not a slave to the system. I'm not a slave to my job. I'm not a slave to nothing. I'll never be a slave to nothing because that was already done, and that's over. You know what I mean? So I do what I do, and I make it do what it do. And we keep it popping, you know what I mean? But once again, I like everybody, you know what I mean? I can't say I love everybody because then I'm just being a phony, and I'm not a phony. I like everybody I meet, but I love my family. That's who I love. The only human beings I love is my family. And as simple as that, you know what I mean? Everyone else I might have love for because of certain situations, and then I like my peoples, you know what I mean? But there's some of my peoples I don't like. Like people who think they can just walk in the middle of the street and I got to move my car to get out the way of you, or people who open their doors in the middle of the street and I got to go around and you blocking up the street, you double park when there's a parking space right behind you, but you don't want to park because you're too lazy to make the effort to park, even though the house is only 4 doors up. You'd rather put your car 4 doors up and block the street. So there's some people I don't like too. Idiots. That's why I'm polarizing, because I speak my mind. But to tell you one thing, I'm speaking the truth. And y'all know I'm right. Alright, so that's it. Thank y'all for listening. If you went through all this, that's fine. Sorry I didn't have any music on. It probably would have been a little bit more entertaining if I had some music on. But once again, you're going to get enough music this summer. Hopefully by July it should be done. I got to have everything marketed and ready to go for the Grammys by October. So that's what we're going to do. And once again, you only live once. Not unless you believe in something else, reincarnation. And even if that's it, you ain't coming back as yourself. You might come back as a freaking roach. Or you might come back as a butterfly. Or you might come back as somebody who was less fortunate, and you squandered your time while you was here. So now, I'm just saying for those people who believe in reincarnation, just to give you an idea. So now you might come back, and all of a sudden your soul zip up into somebody in Africa, or somebody who's less fortunate, who got to struggle now because you didn't take advantage of the time you was here the first time. You know what I mean? Whereas Tina Marie said, I ain't coming back no more. I've been here before. And her thing was, it was almost like Saw. I'm getting deep, right? It was almost like Saw. You got to look at Saw and realize it wasn't just blood and gore. The point Saw was making for all of us. Stop looking at it as, you know, people who don't think looked at it as just being a gory situation. But his whole thing was real simple. You didn't take advantage of the opportunity that you had when you had it. So now let me put you in a position that now you got to struggle. And if you're able to make it through the struggle, then you can redeem yourself to put yourself back in a favorable position to do what you got to do. That's all Saul was. They just gave it to you in a horror form, but this is where it happens in life. Whether it happened to your life right now, or whether you believe in reincarnation, if that's what it is, I don't know, because I had no idea. But regardless, you start down here, you come to a certain level, you start acting a fool, you start dissing. Now they bring you down, because you know they do that, and then they bring you down. Next thing you know, you're a bum on the corner, and they say, "Dag, man, what happened to you? Because I remember back in the day, you had all the money in the world, and now look at you." Life is life, yo. Enjoy life. Do everything you possibly can to keep yourself healthy, not to listen to nonsense, not to let people make you feel as though you're doing something bad because you express your opinion. If you express your opinion and you feel as though that's your opinion, and nobody care about judge, I don't even use the word judge. You'll never hear the word judge come out of my mouth. That's some old bull crap that's gotten to the media and everybody's starting to use it now. But I don't care about judging. If you have an opinion about something, express your opinion. Somebody might, well, you're judging me. Say, kiss my ass. Nobody want to hear that judging me crap. I have an opinion. If I have an opinion about what I think something is happening about, or something about you, and it's my opinion, nobody judging you. If you got dirty socks on, cuz, you need to change your socks. When I'm judging you, nah, dog, I ain't judging you. My opinion is you need to change your socks, because them joints are stanky and they dirty. You need to wash your ass because you stink. Am I judging you? Nah, your ass need to wash up. Stop it. I'm going to bring the real to you because I'm the only cat that's going to keep it real for you without making it too controversial for you, like it's aliens and UFOs and stuff like that. I'm going to keep it on a real tip and bring you what I got to bring you through the wisdom and knowledge that I obtained, you know what I mean? And then therefore you can start to come up and be happy where you are and not let anybody make you who they want you to be. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got to say right now. Do what you got to do. Play a guitar. Draw a picture. Paint something. Knit something. Be creative, man. And pick up a basketball from time to time. Stop sitting on your ass acting like you can't play basketball. Pick up a basketball or football. Get out there and throw that around, man. Play some pool. Play some ping pong. Come on, you see that? That's my backhand. Almost like a fastball by Kurt Schilling. Backhand, forehand. Backhand, forehand. Well-rounded. Women love a well-rounded man. I got to go. Peace out 100. What? Are you getting well-rounded? Are you going to be well-rounded as a woman and a man, or are you just going to sit around and just be average? Goodbye.